Let me ask you a question. When you hear the word democracy, what comes to mind? For many Americans, democracy can seem abstract, a thing about elites, which elites who day-to-day normal people struggles wax poetic. We're being called upon in this moment to fight to defend our democracy, but it's hard for some to fight for an ideal when they're just trying to make ends meet. And part of that is because many elected officials don't want to ruffle their donors' feathers, so they keep their criticism of Donald Trump, the attacker-in-chief of American democracy, shallow, surface level. They play it safe. They avoid speaking the harder truths that not only is Trump an existential threat to democracy, but to the system itself, of which they are, meaning corporate leaders, an intrinsic part. It's broken. It's been broken for a long time, during times of Democratic and Republican leadership. Take these numbers. According to the Congressional Budget Office, in 2022, just 10% of the country owns about 60% of the nation's wealth. Roughly half the country, the bottom half, owns only about 6% of the country's wealth. As Ben Rhodes puts it, quote, "You can't build movements without breaking things. That entails risk. You will lose some donors, antagonize some interest groups, but nothing could be riskier than our current course. This country is being destroyed from within. We don't need a detailed new policy agenda from Democrats that they can't implement now and that most people will never read. We don't need politicians fanning out as awkward guests on podcasts about sports or culture or conspiracy theories. We need authenticity. We need to know that the party is willing to fight for the things that matter most to people in this country and is unafraid to take on the special interests that are destroying it." Unafraid to take on the special interests that are destroying it, which is a long way to bring us back to the biggest political topic that the non-political class has been talking about all week, and that is Jimmy Kimmel. We have lived through these last 2 weeks not just talking about a late-night comic's ability to tell a joke or whether that joke was funny or appropriate. It was about who gets to decide what you hear, what you laugh at, and what you and your family and your friends discuss and debate. For several days, Sinclair and Nexstar, two local media giants that between them own more than 70 ABC affiliate stations, benched Jimmy Kimmel indefinitely. They decided for millions of Americans that his voice was off limits, not because of ratings, not because of contracts, maybe not even because of Jimmy Kimmel's politics or his jokes, but because Donald Trump and his henchman who controls the broadcast licenses and mergers wanted it that way. They went even further, trying to force Kimmel to donate to Charlie Kirk's foundation. Through their public statements, they made it clear this was punishment. More importantly, to every other comedian, satirist, journalist, and their employers, this is a warning. And in that moment, the mask dropped. Broadcasters revealed themselves as political actors, and that's why monopolies matter, because companies and CEOs have politics too. When a handful of companies own the airwaves, they don't just control the market, they can gerrymander the airwaves, redrawing the very boundaries of political debate and public debate. So let's go back a bit and discuss how we got to this moment. Not with the FCC chairman, Brendan Carr, not even with Donald Trump. The problem we have confronted in the last 2 weeks started decades ago when government dismantled New Deal protections against media consolidation. The 1996 Telecommunications Act, passed under Bill Clinton with Newt Gingrich, supercharged a wave of media mergers. In 1983, 50 companies controlled 90% of America's media. Today, five companies control 90% of America's media. That's why when Brendan Carr threatened the networks last week, Disney, the parent company of ABC, and the local news conglomerate Nexstar felt the pressure. Because both had multi-billion-dollar mergers on the line waiting for the approval from the FCC, which Carr runs. So hours after Carr issued his warning to ABC and their channels that we can do this the easy way or the hard way, his words, the affiliates announced that they would stop airing Kimmel, and ABC yanked him off the air. This is not how a free market works. That's political coercion. That's censorship. And it's not just Kimmel. When Larry Ellison's takeover of Paramount came before the FCC, Stephen Colbert's show was canceled. In order to approve the merger, the FCC imposed a condition requiring CBS to install what FCC Chairman Brendan Carr called a bias monitor. Carr has promised more to come, an ongoing purge of what he calls liberal bias from the airwaves. And look at the broader pattern. After Elon Musk bought Twitter, it became a hub for far-right extremism and conspiracies. Jeff Bezos at the Washington Post killed a Kamala Harris endorsement. Patrick Soon-Shiong at the New York Times the Los Angeles Times did the same thing. Meta, the parent of Facebook, settled with Donald Trump for millions for having kicked extremists off its platform. And Tim Cook's Apple TV Plus, the same Tim Cook who handed Trump a literal gold plaque last month, has just postponed a new series on domestic extremism. The show follows a character played by Jessica Chastain who infiltrates online hate groups to stop violence before it happens. And now, David Ellison, the son of Larry Ellison, who briefly this month eclipsed Elon Musk as the world's richest man, is circling Warner Brothers Discovery, the parent company of CNN, while also angling for TikTok, along with Rupert Murdoch, giving them direct access to America's youth. As Newsweek reported, quote, by the end of next year, 170 million Americans who use TikTok, as well as the audiences of CBS News and CNN, could conceivably fall under the influence of Larry Ellison, a longtime Republican donor who boasts of a cozy relationship with Donald Trump. This is the same billionaire who joined a November 2020 call to strategize about overturning the election, your votes. These are not just business decisions. They are a coordinated capture of American media by right-wing oligarchs. Trump doesn't need to nationalize media outlets like Turkey's Erdogan or Russia's Putin does. He doesn't need soldiers storming TV studios. He just exploits the system that was handed to him. A system of corporate concentration that is so tight, so small, so shrinking, that one man's threat can ripple through and chill the entire industry. That is how you get censorship in America. As former Federal Trade Commission Chair Lina Khan observed, quote, the events of the last couple of weeks have made people who don't even think about mergers or consolidation kind of sit up and think, oh, you know, there are real consequences here, not just for people in the industry, but for our country and our democracy, end quote. But here's the part I don't want you to miss. Kimmel is back on the air. Why? Because people pushed back. Consumers canceled their Disney Plus subscriptions. Then they went after Nexstar and Sinclair's advertisers, flooding comments lines, demanding answers. The nonprofit Seattle Theater Group postponed all future advertising with Sinclair-owned Como. Washington-based Best Plumbing told its customers it would not be party to silencing free speech. Quote, at Best Plumbing, we fix pipes, not politics. When a basic principle like free speech comes under fire, we can't ignore it. The truth is simple. Freedom of expression isn't left or right. It's not a partisan issue. People across the spectrum agree that silencing voices sets a dangerous precedent for all of us, end quote. Ordinary Americans like you mobilized, circulating boycott lists, tracking advertisers, online, organizing online. Millions of people changed their behavior in ways that imposed a cost on these companies. And in the process, we saw a resistance that is getting smarter, sharper, more strategic. Matt Stoller, the nation's leading writer on monopolies and their impact on democracy, puts it like this, quote, let's not lose sight of the lesson we are learning right now. Ultimately, corporate consolidation is necessary for authoritarianism to flourish. And the heart of authoritarian politics lies in the corporate boardroom. History shows us boycotts, strikes, sit-ins. These are the tools that break authoritarian power. The Montgomery bus boycott, the Nashville lunch counter protests, divestment during apartheid, each one an act of ordinary, everyday people refusing to comply, refusing to obey. And once again, people power proved swifter, more effective than any court or congressional inquiry in checking Donald Trump's ambitions. The activist Nika Kovac, who fought authoritarian movements in Europe, puts it this way, quote, the thing that is making Trump powerful now is he's thinking that nothing can stop him. You need one victory. When you get that win, people start to feel that they still have power because of what they did together, end quote. This week, the American people punched back. They sent a clear warning to America's CEOs capitulating to Trump. it will cost you more than resisting him. ABC, Sinclair, Nexstar, they got the message. Crucially, Hardy Merriman, a historian of civil resistance, reminds us that in the backsliding of democracies, citizens rarely want to return to the same broken system that failed them in the first place. As Merriman puts it, what people want is not just a leader who's not corrupt, they want a system they can trust, a system that works for them. And if lawmakers expect mass participation against authoritarianism, their vision has got to be bigger than just going back. According to Merriman, this is bigger than Democrats and Republicans. This is about a huge swath of people, those who have not been able to get ahead, those who were living paycheck to paycheck a few years ago, but now because of the rising cost of living can't even make it. But it's also about those who are working and doing okay, but recognize just how precarious their situation is. They are one job loss away from falling through a trap door. That's a huge group of Americans in that situation. End quote. Democracy has got to mean something more than a nebulous rallying cry for top Democrats. Democracy is an idea. Democracy is an aspiration. Democracy is also power. Power, when concentrated, can and was last week weaponized against the people. But power, when wielded by ordinary people, can transform society. This week, it transformed society. Since Trump's return to power 9 months ago, his administration has launched a relentless attack on democracy and on our economy. Jimmy Kimmel was just the latest stress test of American democracy. And for once, since Trump's return, the people fought back. And the people won.